higher order moments like third order central moment, which is used to check the skewness of a distribution. We have used the fourth order moment, which is used for checking the kurtosis of a distribution. So there is another type of characteristic which is talking about the points on the curve. So you can see this curve now, which I have made here on the sheet. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you see, I have made a point A. All right. So this is a plotting of a density function. Okay. And on the plot of the density function, you see I have made a point A, and to the left of the A, we are covering probability P, and on the right of A, we are covering a probability 1 minus P. If A is such a point, we will call A to be a pth quantile. So for example, if P is equal to half, then this will become a median. Similarly, we can divide it into three parts. We can have Q1 by 4, Q half, and Q3 by 4. So they are called quartiles. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now to give a proper definition of this one, because we need to cover the general discrete case as well as the mixed random variable case also. So we define a real number QP satisfying probability x less than or equal to QP is greater than or equal to P, and probability x greater than or equal to QP is greater than or equal to 1 minus P, where P is a number between 0 and 1. Then this is called pth quantile or quantile of order P of distribution of x. Okay, so this is the definition of a quantile. So is it clear? Is the definition clear to you? Can you all of you see here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we are having a distribution which is a continuous distribution, so like the one which I have drawn on the graph here, this is for a discrete distribution. For a continuous distribution, this quantile will be unique quantile, because you will attain exactly. See, here I have written less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, but for a continuous distribution, exact value will be attained. So you will have f of QP is equal to P, that is, there is a unique quantile. Okay. So now we write for P is equal to half, so that is Q half, this is equal to M, is called the median. And similarly, Q of 1 by 4, Q of half, Q is equal to 3 by 4. These are called quartiles. That means we are dividing the distribution into 4 parts.
Sir, can you scroll up a little bit? Thank you, sir.
So this one is suppose 1 by 4. and this is the half point. So this is Q1 by 4, Q half, Q3 by 4. So we are dividing into 4 parts. Then these are called quartiles of a distribution. Similarly, you can have deciles, you can have percentiles. So for example, Q1 by 10, Q2 by 10, and so on, Q9 by 10. These are called deciles. You can have Q1 by 100, Q2 by 100, and so on, Q99 by 100. These are called percentiles. So these are the popular ones which are used in real life. I think all of you are familiar with this median, quartiles, percentile. Of course, I think all of you are familiar because you have appeared in certain tests, and in the test they will say the upper 90% and all that kind of thing they are giving. So you are aware of these things. So what is the difference of these numbers compared to the moments? So in the moments, you are taking care of all the points with their probabilities. So in the discrete case, point and the mass function, and in the continuous case, you have the point and the corresponding density function. So it is something like, again, as I mentioned to you, it is something like finding out a balance point or the point of equilibrium of that distribution. So however, these quantiles are giving exact locations on the distribution, which are actually about finding out the point which is dividing into certain portions, like up to this you have this much percentage of population, above this you have this much percentage of the population. Now these type of things are also extremely useful in our day-to-day life. For example, whenever say we have a opinion poll, so we say that okay, 30% of the people are on this side of the law, 70% of the people are not in the favor of the law. So you divide the population. Suppose you are looking at an age distribution, so you say 50% of the people in India, they live beyond the age 28 years. See, if you check your life tables data, then you can find out these kind of numbers. So that means 50% of the people, they do not survive beyond the age 28 years. So similarly, if you see a country like say Japan, so we find that 50% of the people, they live beyond the age 48 years, and 50% of the people live below the age 48 years. So the median life there is 48. Of course, the size of the population is quite different compared to India. But these are the numbers that people usually talk about. So let us just look at some simple exercises. So let me so let us consider, say, a distribution which I have considered earlier as an example. Okay. So if you draw this distribution, it will be something like this. It is actually known as Cauchy distribution. And here if I consider, so this is a perfectly symmetric distribution around the point 0. So if you look at the CDF, so integral of 1 by 1 plus x square is tan inverse x. So tan inverse x minus at minus infinity, it will become minus pi by 2. So it will become half plus 1 by pi tan inverse x for x belonging to R. So this is the CDF. So CDF will be extremely useful just to find out the points. So for example, at x is equal to 0, this will become 0. So fx will be half. So you have f of 0 is equal to half. So is the median, because it is dividing the distribution into two parts. See, this median is also a measure of central tendency. I had mentioned to you that we have an average value or the expected value. See, in the case of this Cauchy distribution, if I want to calculate what is expectation of x, then this will become 1 by pi x divided by 1 plus x square. You can easily see that this does not exist because the integral is log of 1 plus x square half, and at plus infinity and minus infinity it is not defined. So this does not exist. But here the median is useful because it is giving certain idea about the measure of the central tendency. Similarly, suppose I want to find out quartiles here for this distribution. Okay. So let us look at this. Suppose I take x is equal to 1. Then this will become pi by 4. So you will get half plus 1 by 4, that is 3 by 4.
Sir,
So-
so the variance, so there is no variance also for the curve because there's no e of x.
So if a lower order moment does not exist, then a higher order moment will also not exist. Okay. So I'll state a theorem for this just maybe after completing this portion. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now if I take, so this is actually your, this probability will be 1 by 4 and this will be 3 by 4. Similarly, if I take minus 1 here, then this will become minus pi by 4. So it will become half minus 1 by 4, that is 1 by 4. So here you get q of 1 by 4 is equal to minus 1, and q of 3 by 4, that will become plus 1, because f of minus 1 is 1 by 4 and f of plus 1 is 3 by 4. So for this particular distribution, we are able to easily determine all these things. Okay, let me take another distribution. So this distribution you can easily see how it looks like. Okay, on this one the graph, because this pen actually fluctuates, the stylus pen, so that is why this is actually known as double exponential or Laplace distribution. Okay. I have written a particular form where it is symmetric about 0. So here you can see what is the CDF. Let us write down this. So f of x, this is integral minus infinity to x half e to the power, see, if I am taking x to be negative, then this mod of x is becoming minus x, so this will become plus. So it is like this, and you can evaluate it. So this is equal to if x is less than 0. Okay. Then if x is greater than 0, then it will become integral half plus 0 to x e to the power minus t dt. So this we can again evaluate easily. It is half and minus half e to the power minus t 0 to x. So at 0 this will become 1. So it is 1 minus half e to the power minus x. So your fx is becoming half e to the power x for x less than 0, and it is 1 minus half e to the power minus x for x greater than or equal to 0. So for a double exponential distribution, the CDF is of this particular form. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All of you are able to understand this calculations?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let us look at this median, for example. So when is this equal to half? That is equal to when x is equal to 0. So f of 0 is half. So median is 0. Suppose I ask you what is the first quartile here. So for the first quartile you should have f of x to be 1 by 4, isn't it? Then this will give me half e to the power x is equal to 1 by 4. So of course you can do it simply. So x is equal to minus log of 2. So that is q1 by 4, the first quartile. Similarly, suppose I want to find out what is the third quartile here. For the third quartile, f of x is equal to 3 by 4. So you will have 1 minus e to the power minus x is equal to 3 by 4. So you get 1 by 4 is equal to half e to the power minus x. This implies x is equal to log of 2. So this is the third quartile. So I have given you some very simple example of calculation of the quantiles. I hope these calculations are clear here.
Yes, sir.
Let me take one discrete distribution. Suppose I take probability x is equal to minus 2 and probability of x is equal to 0 to be 1 by 4, and probability x is equal to 1 is equal to say 1 by 3, and probability x is equal to 2 is 1 by 6. See, if I want to plot it, it will look like this. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so at -2 I have 1 by 4, at 0 I have 1 by 4, at 1 I have 1 by 3, and at 2 I have 1 by 6. Okay, so this is the PMF here. Okay, suppose I ask the question, what is the median here? Okay, what is the median? So what is the condition? We should attain the probability half. So if you see the probability here at -2 and 0, it is 1 by 4 each. So at the point 0, I attain the probability half. If I start from the right hand side, then I have probability 1 by 6 at 2 and the probability 1 by 3 at 1. So if I add the 2, it is becoming half. So from the right hand side, the probability half is attained at the point 1. So that means if I consider any point in the interval 0 to 1, it can be treated as a median. So 0 less than or equal to m less than or equal to 1 here, median. Isn't it? Because what you are getting, that if I take any point between 0 and 1, then the definition of the quantile that I have given here, this definition is satisfied. That is, the probability x less than or equal to m is greater than or equal to half, and probability x greater than or equal to m is greater than or equal to half. That condition will be satisfied for any number between 0 and 1. Similarly, suppose I ask, what is the first quartile here? Then at -2, the 1 by 4 probability is there. And from the right hand side, if I see at 0, the probability 3 by 4 is attained. So any number between -2 to 0, that can be considered as a first quartile. So -2 less than or equal to q, 1 by 4 less than or equal to 0. So this is the first quartile.
So
Yes.
why we are considering that equality sign like less than equal to?
Here.
Yes, sir. Like 0 less than equal to m less than equal to 1. Like why we are including 0 and 1?
Yeah, because at 0, the probability half is attained. Okay. And so if you look at from the left hand side, the probability half is attained at 0. And from the right hand side, it is satisfying the condition that probability x greater than or equal to 0 is greater than or equal to half. That condition is also satisfied. Okay. Probability x less than or equal to 0 is equal to half. Probability x greater than or equal to 0 is greater than or equal to half. That is satisfied here. So 0 is included. Similarly, if I look at x is equal to 1, then probability x greater than or equal to 1 is equal to half, and probability x less than or equal to 1 is greater than or equal to half. So the condition is satisfied here. So what actually I am trying to emphasize, that in the discrete distribution, the quantiles need not be unique. Okay, because any point in the interval 0 to 1 satisfies that left to it you have probability half, and on the right also you have the probability half. So that is why it is included here. Hello. So I think this concept of the moments and also the quantiles is clear now. Let us now move to another concept. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So now I talk about a function called a moment generating function. Okay. So if x is a random variable, we define mxt, that is equal to expectation of e to the power tx. Okay. So this is expectation where t is any real number. Okay. So this is called moment generating function of x if it exists, because you know that moments need not exist all the time. So therefore, I mean this expectation need not exist all the time. So only if it will exist, then only it will considered as the moment generating function. So let us take the example that I have done. So we'll just modify it here. Suppose I consider, say, some of the distributions that we have considered earlier. So I'll take some of them. So suppose I take it to be say 2x. So it is 2x between 0 to 1 and it is 0 elsewhere. So what is moment generating function here? That will become integral e to the power tx into the density function. So this density function is between 0 to 1 only, so we don't have to write full thing. Now so as you can see, this is a integral over a finite range of a finite function. Therefore, this will always exist, and evaluation can be done easily just in 2 steps by integration by parts. Okay, so let me just write for example here. That's all. So that is equal to 2 times, and then you integrate. So you have x, and then you have e to the power tx by t 0 to 1 minus derivative of x, and then you get same thing e to the power tx, and then again you will integrate. So it will become e to the power tx by t square 0 to 1. So you put these values here. So it is e to the power t by t minus, when you put 0 it is gone there, and here you will get e to the power t by t square, and when you put 0 here you will get 1 by t square. So this is the moment generating function of this one. And is that okay? let us take some
Yes.
even
Yes, sir.
simpler example, like in a discrete case. Suppose I take this one, px 0 was half and px1 was half. This was the coin tossing example distribution where x was the number of the heads. So here what will be mxt? That will become half e to the power 0 into x, 0 into t, and plus half e to the power 1 into t. So that is simply 1 plus e to the power t by 2. Okay. Now, what is the use of this function? Why do we unnecessarily study another function when we have already considered moments, quantiles, median, and so on? So, what is the need of this function? So, first of all, let us look at this expression that what we are having. This is expectation of e to the power tx. Okay. So, if we consider the expansion of e to the power tx, all of you are very much familiar with this. So if we assume that this function exists, then I can apply it on term by term because expectation is a linear function. So this becomes 1 plus t by 1 factorial mu 1 prime plus t square by 2 factorial mu 2 prime and so on. So you are getting a power series and the coefficients of the power series involve the moments here. So actually coefficient of t to the power k by k factorial in the expansion of MGF is mu k prime. That is the kth non-central moment. You can also look at some further calculations here. If I consider say d by dt of mxt, then what I will get? The first term will vanish because it is 1. Then second term will give me mu 1 prime. And after that I will get 2t by 2 factorial mu 2 prime plus and so on. So if I put t equal to 0 in the first derivative, I will get mu 1 prime. Similarly, suppose I do derivative 2 times, then what I will get? So the first 2 terms will cancel. The third term, when you differentiate 2 times, I will get simply mu 2 prime. And after that, I will get terms which will involve t. So if I put t equal to 0, then those terms will vanish. So if I differentiate 2 times the moment generating function and put t equal to 0, I get mu 2 prime. So in general, if I consider kth derivative, then I will get mu k prime. Okay. So that is why the name moment generating function is apt here. And this you can check easily by for any distribution that we have done here. If you do this differentiation, you can check easily that the answer is coming or not. So you look at this one, 1 plus e to the power t by 2. So if I differentiate, I will get e to the power t by 2. If I put t equal to 0, I will get half here. So, and for this distribution, you know that the mean is half because 0 into half plus 1 into half. The advantage of the moment generating function is that not only the mean but any order moments can be easily calculated because you have to only differentiate the function that many number of times. So for example, in this case, 1 plus e to the power t by 2, it is extremely simple to differentiate because you have only exponential function. The first term will vanish in the first itself, and thereafter you get only e to the power t by 2. So you can easily obtain the moments of all orders here. And of course, you know this is a simple distribution where 0 into half plus 1 into half, and then whatever powers of 0 and 1 you are taking, you will get the same value. So we are able to derive that thing. So we have certain results here. I mentioned to you that if a higher order moment exists, then the lower order moment will exist, and if the lower order does not exist, then higher order will not exist. So we have certain result. I will state this kind of theorems without proof here. The point about the moment generating function is that it uniquely determines a distribution. Therefore, there is a one-to-one correspondence between distributions and the MGF. Now, later on, when you do advanced probability theory, you will come across certain problems where we are not interested to calculate only the distribution of certain original random variable, but there will be certain functions of those random variables. And sometimes the direct distribution derivation is quite complicated, and if the moment generating function is known, then it becomes extremely simple because we can associate them with the known distributions. So we have the following important result here. The moment generating function Another thing is that if the MGF will exist, then the moments of all orders will exist. That of course I have already shown you the calculation here. Before I end this characteristics, I will like to do one important result. So you have seen moments, that is one type of relationships are there. Okay, that means you are looking at the value multiplied by the density, and then you are looking at certain kind of summations or integrals. Then second thing you have seen the use of the CDF, that is giving you the quantiles, that is the probability of something less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, that is the points on the distribution. Is there any relation between these two types of characteristics? The answer is yes. And one of the original results, I mean, this is of course considered very, very important because initially I mean, statisticians or the probabilists, they thought that these two are handling two different kind of things. But it turned out that they are really not handling two different things, but there is a relation between them. One of the first such result was in the form of an inequality, and that is known as Chebyshev's inequality. So Chebyshev was a Russian mathematician, and since he was the first one to think this kind of thing, so Chebyshev's inequality. Let x be a random variable with the mean mu and variance say sigma square. Then for any k greater than 0, probability of mod x minus mu greater than or equal to k is less than or equal to sigma square by k square. So you can see the left hand side is talking about a certain probability, and the right hand side we are talking about moment. So there is a relation in terms of inequality. So the first version of this was given by Chebyshev, so that is why it is known as Chebyshev inequality. Later on, lot of generalizations of this have been given. Although I will show you that the since now we are having much developed notations, therefore the proof is actually very simple. So let me give it for the case of a continuous distribution. So let x be continuous, because in the case of continuous in terms of integrals we can write nicely. So let us write down sigma square. So sigma square is what? Variance of x. What is the definition of the variance? It is expectation of x minus mean square. So if I am dealing with the continuous case, then it can be written as integral x minus mu square into fx dx. Integral from minus infinity to plus infinity. Now this, so you can look at it. Any distribution we are putting as minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay. And if I am considering this region x minus mu greater than or equal to k or less than or equal to k, what does it mean? Let me just explain this. So minus k less than or equal to x minus mu less than or equal to k, which is same as mu minus k less than or equal to x less than or equal to k plus mu. Okay, or mu plus k we can write here. So if this is mu, then mu minus k to mu plus k is some region. Okay, so if I say x minus mu mod is greater than k, then it will be outside of this. Okay, and if I say less than or equal to, then this will be inside. So when I am looking at this integral, x minus mu square is nothing but a positive or non-negative quantity, and density is of course non-negative. So if I consider integral over one of these regions, either mod of x minus mu less than or equal to k r mod of x minus mu greater than or equal to k, then the value will become less, because this is over the whole region and this non-negative function I am reducing, the region I am reducing. So this integral that is sigma square, this will become greater than or equal to integral over mod of x minus mu greater than or equal to k x minus mu square fx dx. Now over this region I am saying x minus mu square is greater than or equal to k square. So I can substitute that value. So it is greater than or equal to k square mod of x minus mu greater than or equal to k fx dx. But what is this term? It is nothing but the integral of the density over a set. By the expression of the continuous distribution, what we are having in the continuous distribution, the integral of the density over a certain region is nothing but the probability of that region. So this is nothing but k square into probability of mod x minus mu greater than or equal to k. That is, you are saying probability of mod x minus mu greater than or equal to k is less than or equal to sigma square by k square. So this is a relation between probability statement and the moments. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So you can actually now write down various other statements from here. For example, if I take 1 minus on both the sides, so then this will become probability mod x minus mu less than k greater than or equal to 1 minus sigma square by k square. Another form is written like this. In place of k, if I put say sigma k, then this can be written like probability mod x minus mu less than k sigma is greater than or equal to 1 minus 1 by k square, or probability mod x minus mu less than or equal to k sigma greater than or equal to k sigma is less than or equal to 1 by k square. So let me look at this expression itself, what is written here, the last two expressions. In the last two expressions, let us look at the interpretation by taking some specific value. Let us take k equal to 1. Then what you will get? You will get probability of mod of x minus mu less than sigma is greater than 0. Okay, or greater than or equal to 0. So this is a trivial statement, because I am saying certain probability is non-negative. So this does not give you much information. However, if I take say k equal to 2, then what is the statement? 2 sigma is greater than or equal to 1 minus 1 by 4, that is 3 by 4. Now this is a much significant statement. What I am saying here, that probability that x lies between mu minus 2 sigma to mu plus 2 sigma is always greater than or equal to. So that means in a given distribution, whatever be the distribution, see here I am not specifying what is the distribution. X is any random variable. Then between mean to mean minus twice the standard deviation to mean plus twice standard deviation, it always has more than 0.75. That means 75% of the content. Now you can change, I mean, like in place of k equal to 2, you can put k equal to 3 and so on. So for example, if I put k equal to 3, then I will get 1 minus 1 by 9, that is 8 by 9. And 8 by 9 is, of course, almost 0.9. So in any given distribution, between mean minus thrice the standard deviation to mean plus thrice of the standard deviation, you have almost 90% of the probability content. So these are general statements that you can make. So that is why, see, as I mentioned to you that the mean gives you some sort of balance point or the point of equilibrium. Standard deviation gives you some sort of dispersion, how much is the variability, etc. But then you should also be able to make some sort of educated statements from the probability distribution. So for example, there is some values are given there, and I am able to calculate the mean and the variance, etc. Then I am knowing what is the spread of my distribution. As I mentioned to you that between mean minus thrice the standard deviation to mean plus 3 times of the standard deviation, you will have almost 90% of the probability in general, irrespective of whatever is the distribution. For particular distribution, you will be able to calculate exactly. So it may be 0.94, it may be 0.93, or it may be 0.99. As you will see in the case of normal distribution, it will become 0.9987. So that is very, very high thing that you will get. But in general also, most of the values are concentrated between mean minus the thrice standard deviation, because whatever be the distribution. And this is what we observe when we do, for example, we look at the performance of the students, we look at the performance of the economy, we look at the agricultural production, and so on. So what is the spread of the distribution, that is known from here. So in that sense, this is one of the very, very useful results here. So let me just take up one or two simple exercises here. So from a jewelry store, they are interested in knowing how many purchases are costly purchases. That means maybe to the tune of several lakhs or something like that. Okay. And suppose expectation of x is say 18 and sigma is equal to say 2.5. Okay, so suppose this data is available to us. We want to find out so with what probability we can assert that there will be between 8 to 18 costly purchases. So that means we are saying 8 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 28. I have taken a symmetric interval around the mean, that is 18. So that is nothing but minus 10 less than or equal to x minus 18 less than or equal to 10. That is probability mod x minus 18 less than or equal to 10. So by Chebyshev's inequality, it is greater than or equal to 1 minus sigma square by 100. That is, sigma square is 2.5 square. So when you simplify, this is simply becoming 15 by 16. So here you can see it is almost, it is more than 90% here, isn't it? You are getting 0.94 almost. Okay. Let me take another example here. So we have independent observations from a population with mean mu and variance 1. How many observations are needed in order that the probability is at least 0.9 that the mean of the observations differs from mu by not more than 1. So suppose we are taking observations x1, x2 and so on, okay, xn. Suppose n observations are taken. So each of these expectation of xi is actually mu and variance of xi is 1, okay. And so we are asking a question about mean of observations. So what is the mean of the observations? That is x bar, that is 1 by n sigma xi. So what is mean of x bar? That is again same because it is 1 by n expectation of xi. So that is mu plus mu plus mu n mu. So n mu by n, that is mu. And what is the variance here? What is variance of x bar? So variance of x bar is 1 by n square sigma variance of xi. So that is n by n square, that is 1 by n. So now I ask a question about probability of mod of x bar minus mu less than 1. We are saying that the mean of the observations does not differs by mu by not more than 1. So mod of x bar minus mu less than 1. So according to this result, it is greater than or equal to 1 minus sigma square by k square, that is 1 by n. And we want it to be greater than 0.9. So this will give me n is greater than 10. So that means at least 10 observations are required in order that the mean of the observations does not differ from the population mean by not more than 1. Is it okay? Are you able to understand this Chebyshev's inequality?
Sir, can you explain this example once again?
So the question is that we are having a population with mean mu and variance 1, and we are taking observations from there. So let us call the observations to be x1, x2, xn. The question is that the mean of the observations should not differ by mu by not more than 1. That means mod of x bar minus mu less than 1. So we want this probability to be at least 0.9. So for this, what should be the minimum value of n? That is the question that is being asked. So we look at x bar here. So if I want to use a statement about x bar, then in the Chebyshev inequality, I need the mean of x bar and the variance of x bar. So that I calculate mean of x bar is simply mu itself, because each of the observations is having the mean mu. So if I look at the linear operator expectation of x bar, then that is again giving me mu. And similarly, variance is the squared operator, and it will give you 1 by n square, because you are doing expectation of x bar minus mu square coming there. So it will become 1 by n square sigma variance of xi, so that will become 1 by n. So now I apply Chebyshev inequality straightforwardly. So probability of mod x bar minus mu less than 1 is greater than or equal to 1 minus sigma square by k square. So sigma square is 1 by n, k is 1, so it is 1 by n. And we want this to be greater than 0.9. So that is giving you n greater than 10. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll now just write down one exercise for your practice. You just try, I'll give you maybe 5 minutes. You try to solve this problem for moments and other things, okay? Suppose x is a continuous random variable and the so the density is 1 by beta, 1 minus mod of x minus alpha by beta, where alpha minus beta is less than x less than alpha plus beta. And it is of course 0 at other places. So I think the problem is very clear. So I am giving you 5 minutes time. You just do some calculations here. Okay. The distribution is a continuous distribution with the density function existing between alpha minus beta to alpha plus beta. The value of the density is 1 by beta into 1 minus mod of x minus alpha by beta. Find out the mean, the median, the variance, the first and the third quartiles, and the measures of skewness and kurtosis. Okay, so just write down the calculations, and when I am asking you the question, then you, so I am giving, it's a large class, so I am giving you 5 minutes time. Is the problem clear? Are you able to see the problem?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, please solve it. So are you able to find out the values? What is the mean? Are you able to get the mean?
So the mean will be alpha.
Mean is alpha, it is a symmetric distribution, so you can easily see that. See, if you plot this, so at alpha minus beta, this is 0, and at, if I take x is equal to alpha, then it is 1 by beta. Okay, and at alpha plus beta also it is 0. So this is a perfectly symmetric distribution. Okay. So expectation will be alpha, and of course the median is also alpha. So those things you can easily find out from here. What about the variance? What is the variance? Can anybody tell me the answer? See, variance is nothing but expectation of x minus mu square, isn't it? So this is equal to x minus alpha square, and then you have 1 by beta, 1 minus mod of x minus alpha by beta. This integral is from alpha minus beta to alpha plus beta. So from the expression itself, you can easily understand that you can easily substitute something like x minus alpha by beta is equal to y, that is 1 by beta dx is equal to dy. Then this is nothing but the integral from minus 1 to 1 y square 1 minus mod y dy. Now you have put 1 by beta dx is equal to dy, so this will go into dy term, and x minus alpha square is beta square y square, so you will get this term. Now this is a very straightforward integral which you can easily evaluate, and you get the value as beta square by 6. So that is the variance of this distribution. I have asked you to find out the third moment because the measure of skewness. Can you tell me the answer without calculation?
Sir, 0.
Yes, sir.
It will be 0. Now the fourth one, again you can easily do it. For calculation of the fourth one, it is expectation of x minus alpha to the power 4, isn't it? So again it will be extremely simple because it will be beta to the power 4 integral minus 1 to 1 y to the power 4 1 minus mod y dy. So you can easily evaluate it. So anyway, I am not writing down the calculation here. What about the first quartile and the third quartile? See, for the first quartile, you will be on the left of alpha. So you will integrate from 0 to that q value, and it will be 1 minus now mod of x minus alpha. So here x is less than alpha, so it will become alpha minus x by beta dx. So that value you will put there. So you can check your calculation. It will become q1 is equal to alpha plus beta into 1 minus 1 by root 2. And you will get So I'm actually it will not be 1 minus 1 by root 2. It will be no. It will become minus 1 beta by root 2 because it is greater than alpha minus beta. So it will be alpha minus beta by root 2. So this will be minus here. And the other one will become alpha plus beta by root 2. So you can calculate and check these calculations. Okay. Next we complete these calculations. Okay. Have you solved the assignment problems? I have given you many assignment problems. So have you solved?
Sir, we have just solved half of the assignment.
See, I have already announced that we will be having the tests actually from 2nd February. So first one is on the probability, and then the second one will be on the these random variables, moments, MGF, and also some discrete distributions, etc. So you need to work out the exercises. If you don't solve the problems, then I mean, you will not get enough practice, because I have given a variety of problems. There are problems which involve permutations, there are problems which involve combinations, there are problems which are involving addition rule, there are problems are using theorem of total probability, the problems are on using Bayes theorem. So all types of problems I have considered in this assignment. There are large number of problems, almost I think I have given more than 20 problems in first assignment. In the second assignment also a lot of problems are there. So you please solve it, because unless you solve you will not be understanding that thing. See, I have given you the solution sheets also, but if you only look at the solution and don't solve yourself, then you will not be able to understand the concept behind that. So it is better, because same problem will not come in the tests or something. So you should need to understand the concept behind that thing. Okay, so I mean, I think you need to solve that thing. Let me move ahead then, because unless you solve the problem, I will not be able to discuss them. So you please solve, and if you want, then we can discuss it on maybe next Monday class, because tomorrow it's a holiday. So we will discuss in the next Monday. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have given you the general definition of the discrete and continuous distributions. Okay, so a discrete distribution is described by a probability mass function, and it is having certain conditions. So you can define infinitely many such distributions. Similarly, continuous distribution, it is any non-negative function with the integral equal to 1 over a given range. So again, you can have infinitely many distributions. However, in real life situations, there are distributions which arise. That means for certain kind of situation, some distribution is useful, for certain kind of distribution, certain other distribution is modeled. So there are various situations where particular distribution gives a better picture. So some of them have been in usage for last 200 years or 300 years and so on. So it is better to look at the specific properties of those distributions, because ultimately what is the use of teaching this theory? In real field, when you are working in a company or you are working in an organization, say maybe in a government organizations, Most of the times you are dealing with certain data. So what you will do, you will model that data by using say pictorial diagrams like histogram or something like that, and you make a frequency curve from there, and then you need to look at what are the properties of the distribution, because the policies of the company or the policies of the government are based on those measures. Measures could be moments, measures could be predictions, and so on. So there are so many things. We have already done few of them at this point of time. So as a person who knows probability and statistical theory, it is good to be familiar with most of the standard distributions, because many times due to the experimental procedure or due to previous knowledge, you know that this is the distribution that will be useful for modeling. So for example, when we teach large classes and we look at the performance of the students, we generally observe that it is normally distributed. And therefore it is easy for us to do the grading by devising a scheme that, okay, top this much percentile. So as I mentioned, this percentile concept is used there, that this much percentage of the students, they will get EX grade, this much percentage of the students, they will get an F grade. These are in the middle, so they will get A, B, C, and so on. So it is a very nice policy that we are using, but generally we know that the distribution of the marks is normally distributed. Similarly, there are other distributions. For example, when we are studying the income and so on, income distributions of populations, then they are heavily positively skewed, because large number of people, they get less salary or less income, and there are few people who get high salary. So generally in the developed countries or in the middle income countries, we have the so-called 80-20 rule. So we make use of a distribution like a Pareto distribution, that is an income distribution. Similarly, there are distributions which are for the longevity, for the life. So for the life, generally we observe again a positively skewed distribution in the developing countries or underdeveloped countries, because a lot of people, they are of a lower age, whereas in the developed countries, where the developed economies are there with good healthcare facilities, there you find it is a positively skewed, it is a negatively skewed. You get a lot of people with high age and very few people with lower age. So so India is somewhere in the middle. You have both the higher age and the lower age people. So we model the distributions based on the experience and based on the data that we get. So it is good to know most of the standard distributions. Let me start with something very simple. The first one is discrete uniform distribution. By the name itself, discrete and uniform. So discrete means it takes certain number of values and it gives equal probability. So the random variable x, it takes finite number of values 1 to n, each with equal probability. So this is one of the simplest looking distributions. This distribution is applicable whenever we are dealing with the random sampling situations. That means, for example, if I say I want to select one student from the class. So there are 239 students and I will select one of them. So each of them is allocated equal probability of getting selected. Similarly, if we are looking at the sample, suppose in place of one, I am selecting say 10 students for a certain representation. So 239 C10 samples are there. Each one can be selected with equal probability. So this kind of situation, of course, it started from the classical games where we were considering coin tossing, dice throwing, and so on, where you have fairness assumption included. That means fair dice or fair coin and so on. So you gave equal probability. So of course, this is the simplest example of the distribution, and the mean, variance and all those things you can easily calculate. So what is the mean of this distribution? So I by n, I is equal to 1 to n. So all of you know the sum of the first n integers. It is n into n plus 1 by 2. So this becomes n plus 1 by 2, which is of course the mid value also, because if you are giving equal probability to the points, then the mid value will be the n plus 1 by 2. Of course, if n is odd, then it will become one of the values here. If n is even, then it is the middle of the two mid values. Okay, so it need not be the value included in the distribution. For example, in the coin tossing experiment, you have seen the mean is half, so you don't get half head, but the mean is half. So mean, as I mentioned, it is the point of equilibrium or center of gravity kind of thing. And of course, since you are adding a finite number of terms, so all the moments will exist. So for example, what is mu2 prime? It will become sigma I square by n. So that is equal to n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. So you get, so from here you can calculate the variance. N square minus 1 by 12. So moments of all orders exist. Okay. You can also look at the moment generating function here. That is expectation of e to the power tx e to the power it by n, I is equal to 1 to n. So this is easily a geometric series, e to the power t plus e to the power 2t plus e to the power nt. So you know the sum of this one also. So this is e to the power t into e to the power nt minus 1 divided by n into e to the power t minus 1. Of course, this is for t not equal to 0, and if it is t is equal to 0, then this is 1. So in fact, the value of the moment generating function is always 1 at t equal to 0. Okay, so this is all about this simple distribution. In fact, here you are having, so for example, you consider this dice problem and just look at these things for the dice problem and verify the moments and so on. Okay.
Sir, could you please scroll up? Thank you, sir.
So then we have a degenerate distribution. This is the simplest distribution. See, sometimes you are dealing with a sure event. In a sure event, only one point is there, because to that sure event we will associate certain random variable. It will take only one value. So that means you are saying probability that x is equal to c is 1. This is known as a degenerate distribution. Okay. So suppose this is the point C and you allocate the value 1 here. Okay. So this is known as a degenerate distribution. So this is one of the, so here there is no need to study any property because the moments of all orders will be same, because it will, everything will be c to the power k you will get. So mu1 prime is c, then mu2 prime is c square and so on. So these are all, these are trivial distribution. Okay. The next one is, what is the Bernoulli trial or Bernouillian trials? If a random experiment has two possible outcomes, we can associate name success and failure to the outcomes. So for example, you are doing this course, and then your interest may be whether you will get a good grade or not. Suppose you assign EX, A and B as good grade, and say below B if you get C, D and so on, then you say it's a bad grade. Okay. So any student who is doing this course, he will get a good grade or he will get a bad grade. Okay. Similarly, if you take certain medicine, the medicine may have a positive effect or it may have a negative effect, or may not be having any positive effect. If an event is conducted, the event is conducted successfully or not successfully. In a game, you win or lose. Okay. So there are large number of such physical phenomena where the outcome is recorded into two parts only. So for example, today, whether there will be sunshine or not, whether it will rain or not, okay, whether the agricultural growth will be positive or negative, whether the industrial growth will be positive or negative, okay, where the rate of interest will increase or decrease. So all such trials we can call success failure kind of trials. In a random experiment, if we have two possible outcomes, that means your omega is consisting of only, okay, so these are known as Bernoulli trials, and we associate x of s as 1 and x of f as 0. Okay, that is x is the number of success. You can associate them with the coin tossing or this kind of exercises. But of course, now I am in a little bit general form. So we can consider probability of x is equal to 1 is p, and probability of x is equal to 0 is 1 minus p. Sometimes we write this as q also, okay, where p is a number between 0 and 1. That means the probability of the success is p. So if we conduct the trials repeatedly, so for example, a coin is tossed repeatedly, and in each trial the probability of head is say 2 by 3. Okay, so this kind of thing. So similarly about anything else, like I have talked about taking a medicine or playing a game, etc. Since here the values of the random variable are only 0 and 1, so what will be the moments? Because the power of 1 and 0 do not change the value. So all the moments are p. So for example, you have mu1 prime, that is p, mu2 prime is also p, and so on. Mu k prime is also p. All the moments are same. So you can calculate the variance, etc. Variance is then mu2 prime minus mu1 prime square. So that becomes p minus p square, that is p into 1 minus p, or we also write it as pq. What is the moment generating function? It will become 1 minus p into e to the power 0 into t plus p into e to the power 1 into t, which we write as just simply q plus p e to the power t. That is the moment generating function of this distribution. So I think this distribution is very clear to all of you. There is not much here. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So then so this distribution which I mentioned, it is also called a Bernoulli distribution. Okay, this distribution, that form that I have written. Okay, that probability of x equal to 1 is p and probability x equal to 0 is 1 minus p. So this is known as Bernoulli distribution. Okay, but actually the general form of the Bernoulli distribution means that the trial is not conducted once, but it is conducted many times. So we have then the so-called binomial distribution. Suppose independent Bernoulli trials are conducted under identical conditions with probability of success p. Okay, in each trial the probability of success is p and the probability of failure will become 1 minus p. Let x denote the number of successes in n trials. Then what are the possible values that x can take? There can be 0, 1, 2 and so on up to n. What is the probability that x is equal to, say, k? So I think all of you can answer this question. If the independent Bernoulian trials are conducted, what is the probability that in n trials you will get k success? So any of you?
NCK P power K
NCK
and Q
p to the
power
power
n minus
k,
K.
q to the power n minus.
K.
So where k can take values 0, 1 to n and p is between 0 and 1. So this is the so-called binomial distribution. See, whenever you write down a distribution, you are saying that the sum of the values must be 1. So sigma nck p to the power k, q to the power n minus k, k equal to 0 to n. So what is this thing? If you take all the terms, this is nothing but the expansion of q plus p to the power n, the binomial expansion. So that is why it is 1. Okay. So that is why this name of this distribution is actually binomial distribution. Actually, it was given by, I had mentioned earlier in the first lecture, the names of certain mathematicians by the name Bernoulli, isn't it? So it's a family of mathematicians, basically Swiss scientists. So there were many of them. So Jacob Bernoulli, James Bernoulli, etc. So it is named after that family because they were the first to analyze this distribution. If I want to calculate the moments here, so if I look at say mu1 prime, then it is expectation x, that is sigma k n c k p to the power k q to the power n minus k. Now you see that sigma n c k p to the power k q to the power n minus k, it became a expansion of the binomial series. If I multiply by k, then there is a little problem here. So what we do, we apply a small trick here. So of course, k equal to 0 to n, corresponding to k equal to 0, this term is actually not there. So we can write k equal to 1 to n, because k equal to 0, this will become 0. So then you consider this n factorial divided by k factorial into n minus k factorial. And this k is here. So this k you adjust with this. Okay. So we then we put this as k minus 1 factorial. So this immediately gives us the idea about the terms that we are going to get here. So in the next step, what we do, I take NP outside and I put this as say L is equal to 0 to n minus 1, n minus 1 CL, p to the power L, and q to the power n minus 1 minus L. Okay, I have put L is equal to basically k minus 1. So this has again become a binomial sum, that is NP, and this is q plus p to the power n minus 1. So that is again NP. So the mean of a binomial distribution is NP. Well, I have done the theoretical derivation here, but let us try to understand what is the meaning of this. See, you are saying that the success probability is P in each trial. So what is the expected number of success in n trials? That is NP. Under the condition that the trials are conducted independently and under identical conditions. That means in each trial the probability of success remains the same and it is done independently. So basically if you perform, so it is something like this, that if you have a fair coin and you toss it say 1000 times, then what is the expected number of heads? So you will say 500. Okay. So if I say the probability of a student securing an EX grade is 1 by 20. Okay. So in a class of 200 students, what is the expected number of EX grades? So it will become 200 by 20. So that will become how much? 10. On the average, you will say that 10 students must get EX grade. Now, this way of writing down the calculations also gives you the idea how to calculate higher order moments. So if I want to calculate mu2 prime, I will get k square here. And if I get k square, I will not be able to cancel that here. So we resort to what I defined earlier as factorial moments. So in place of k square, if I consider k into k minus 1, then the calculation can be done easily. So I look at that one. So we look at expectation of x into x minus 1. So that is sigma k into k minus 1 n c k p to the power k q to the power n minus k, k equal to 0 to n. Again you can see that for k equal to 0 and k equal to 1, this term will cancel out. So this is nothing but sigma k equal to 2 to n factorial divided by k minus 2 factorial n minus k factorial, and you have p to the power k, q to the power n minus k. So now I will put k minus 2 is equal to L, then this is becoming sigma L is equal to 0 to n minus 2. So I will take out n into n minus 1 from here. N into n minus 1 p square, and then this is nothing but n minus 2 c L, p to the power L minus 2, q to the power n minus 2 minus L. So again this sum is actually equal to 1. So you are getting n into n minus 1 p square. So expectation of x square, that is expectation of x into x minus 1 plus expectation of x. So that is n into n minus 1 p square plus np. So if I want to calculate the variance of x, that is mu2 prime minus mu1 prime square, then it is equal to n into n minus 1 p square plus np minus n square p square. So that is nothing but np into 1 minus p, or you can say npq. That is the variance of a binomial distribution. So now I have already given you the idea how to calculate the higher order moments here. You will have to calculate higher order factorial moments, use them to calculate the higher order non-central moments, and then use them to calculate the higher order the central moments. Because suppose I want to calculate the measure of skewness, kurtosis, etc. So let us look at this mu3. So mu3, then this will become np into 1 minus p into 1 minus 2p. So I leave this as an exercise, and mu4, that is npq square into 3 plus npq into 1 minus 6 pq. So from here we can calculate. So I leave this as say you please do it yourself, okay? Let me now look at the measures of skewness and kurtosis, okay? What is the interpretation? So measure of skewness, you know, it is from mu3 divided by sigma q, okay? So measure of skewness, it is mu3 by sigma q. So npq is sigma square, so it becomes npq. So it is 1 minus 2p divided by this is np to q to the power 3 by 2. So it will give me 1 npq to the power half. Now let us see the interpretation from here, what I will get about the binomial distribution. See, in the binomial distribution, so you are having the points 0, 1, 2 and so on, n minus 1, n, and you are having the probabilities n, c, k, p to the power k, q to the power n minus k. So if p is equal to half, this beta 1 is 0. That means it is a symmetric distribution. So if you look at the binomial distribution, the coefficient NC0 is same as NCN. So if P is equal to Q, the probability will become simply NCK half to the power N. So half to the power N comes out. It is independent of K. So the probability for N is equal to, for X is equal to K, and the probability for X equal to N minus K, it is going to be the same. So for P equal to half, this is perfectly symmetric. The probabilities will increase gradually and here they will decrease. Okay, this is for P equal to half. Now you consider P less than half. If you have P less than half, then this is positive. So beta 1 is positive for P less than half. What do you mean by P less than half? If you look at the term NCK, P to the power K, Q to the power N minus K. So in the beginning, the powers of Q are more. So if P is less than half, Q will become greater than half. That means the chances of more number of failures is higher. Okay. That means the values in the beginning will become slightly higher compared to the values on the right side. This side the values will be smaller. Okay. So it will become positively skewed. See, if I am saying P is less than half, that means success probability is less than half. So therefore the probability of more number of success will become small. The probability of more number of failures will become higher. On the other hand, if I have say P greater than half, then the probabilities in the beginning will be less and these probabilities will be much higher on the right. Okay. So this will become negatively skewed. So is this physical interpretation clear? See, you should not think of only these measures mu1, mu2, mu3, etc. as simply doing some calculation exercises. They are actually for giving you the meaning of the data. That means how to interpret the data. Okay. Similarly, you can try to look at the description for the measure of kurtosis also. So that is mu4 by mu2 square minus 3. So that will become equal to 1 minus 6 pq divided by npq. Again you can see this is equal to 0 if pq is 1 by 6. It is greater than 0 if pq is less than 1 by 6. It is less than 0 for pq greater than 1 by 6. So you can again try to have an interpretation of this. Okay. Okay. So take the three cases where you will get the three conditions and then just look at the plot of the curve. So take some value like n is equal to say maybe take 10 and then take some three different values of p for each of the cases. Okay. I think I should stop today's class. Okay. So tomorrow we don't have class because of the Republic Day. We will meet on the next Monday and next Tuesday you will have a class test. Okay. So let me stop the class today. Please solve all the assignment problems. In the next class you may also discuss some of those problems which you are not able to solve. Okay. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, then I will leave the class.